You're back with us right here on The Morning Show on a feel-good Friday, and it is officially time for my favorite segment. It's Flashback Friday. Now, my guest this morning is definitely a household name in the entertainment world, although you may have, stepped away from the mic, but his legacy in radio is undeniable. He's done it all, and he's still going strong. Grant Anele is here to take us on a journey through his past, his present, and pretty much what is next for him. Grant, welcome to The Morning Show.
Thank you so much, my friend. Good to see you again.
Reading that, there is... I've known you for many years, one.
Sure.
Secondly, there is so much to unpack. It's just a short amount of time, and I want to get straight into
Let's
it.
do it. Yeah.
The name Grant Anele is just synonymous with radio for many reasons, and we'll unpack that. But
Sure.
Was radio always the dream?
Yeah, it really was. When I was I remember recording. Can you believe this? We had to record to get our music, right?
Demos.
To get our music only, because you listen to the top 40 and then you record a song. Remember that?
100%.
Exactly. And then I remember doing my own little voiceover for the song.
No.
And this is when I was a lighty. I was like super young, and so it's always been a thing. And then I think I met like ENF and Sasha Martiningo from 5FM back in the day when I was like 16 years old. I fell in love with that, fell in love with the show, and I always wanted to be on radio. It was this thing, that's what I wanted to do with my life. And then I got to do it, which is pretty cool.
Look, it's always great to bring that dream to fruition, or the vision one has to life. I mean, did you ever think the career would then span across multiple major radio stations?
No, but let me tell you why. I also knew that the career was not only going to be on radio. It's because I met people like yourselves, okay, maybe a little bit later, but people like Gareth Cliff, Anele.
Yes.
I was around these people, and they have like a thing that makes them shine, right? They're funny, they're intelligent, and I knew from the very beginning that I wasn't as funny, I was not as intelligent, I had to do something else. And what I mean by that is I had to understand the science of radio, because I was never going to have that natural talent that Anele has. She gets onto the mic, she shines, right? I didn't have that. So I had to figure out what that was, and I actually fell in love with the science of that, with the science of trying to understand how to get people to listen to this thing and enjoy this thing. And then that kind of created a career for me outside of being on the mic, which was kind of nice. So it came from maybe a little bit of my own insecurities, not funny enough, not whatever, but it kind of gave me a career, which was nice.
But there's quite a thing to also then, at a very young age, clearly, to realize that, I might be amongst all these big personalities, but I've got to find my way. Was it tough?
Yeah. It's an interesting thing, because it's exactly that, but radio forces you to do that. Radio forces you to say, you're going to have to find your path, because you can't be a replica of somebody else. Because Fresh is there, bro.
Yes.
DJ Spoo is there. You can't be the version of them. You got to be something else. So that was kind of difficult. And then there were a lot of older white men at the time I was getting in. So there's lots of old white men. You can't be like them either, So you have to be something else. You have to be something else, So that was the thing. I had to find that niche. I had to find my way through. So it kind of forced you to do that, which was quite nice from a young age.
I think it's so blasé to even say it this way, but there is no way in hell, actually, that you didn't find your way, because if there's one era everyone remembers, it's the Grant Anele era. Let's just be real. There was a dynamic duo, there was that creativity, that energy on air.
Sure.
How did that pairing come about?
Yeah, it's mad, right? Literally, there was a guy called Rian van Heerden, and he's also been in radio for a very long time. And he was at Tux FM at the time. He was our manager. And he was like, put these two together, because we have this show that wasn't working so well in the afternoon. He's like, put these two together, I think they'll work. And we went off air after being together. It was a talk show in the middle of the day. Who would do that? What a bad idea. But a talk show in the middle of the day. And we do this for an hour, and we go off, and he's like, wow, it just worked. It is such a strange thing. It's just there was something about myself and Anele that we got on from the beginning, and then it just worked. And then my surname became Anele for many, many years of my life.
No way.
I'll tell you a quick funny story. I was in Australia, and I was on a retreat at a Buddhist
we'll get into that
temple,
as well.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was there for about a month, and part of it was silent. And so there was a South African chef, and I could hear he was South African, but I couldn't talk to him. And eventually, when I got out of the silence, I started speaking to him. And here we are in the middle of the mountains in Melbourne, and he has this guy, and he's like, bro, you just sound so familiar, but I can't place you. And I was like, no, my name's Grant. And he's like, no, I still don't know. And I was like, Grant Anele. He's like, yes, I remember that. So the only time people remember is if I tell them it's Grant and Anele. So my surname is Anele. That's what it's always been. So.
Look, I said earlier, there's so much to unpack in this interview because you just touched on the Buddhist retreats and things you've been on to. But just lastly, was it tough to break away from that Grant Anele?
Also, no, and I think that says a lot about the relationship we had. I remember coming, I think it was a Monday morning. And I remember saying to Anele, it was the first time that I was going to tell her that I don't want to do this anymore. And I turned to her and I said to her, dude, I need to chat to you. I don't want to do this anymore.
What a chat.
And she said to me, I know. She's like, I just know. Because we've known each other so well. She was like, go. Just do, and I'll go and we go and look at her, right? She has just flourished beyond. And so I just get so happy when I see it, when I listen to her. And that's exactly it. She was like, I know. And I think that was, because we know each other so well, there was obviously something where she was like,
and so comforting as well.
Correct. It was so easy to be able to do that and have that conversation, which is really special.
So you break away from that.
Sure.
It sounds so cliche, but do you go and find yourself? You've done incredible things. We spoke about it off air. You're one of those people who just really experience the essence of life in whatever path that takes you, and then you go and do this whole retreat with Buddhas,
which has meant that I've had to do a lot of explaining to my mom. You can imagine throughout my life, right?
Even just me listening to this, I want to know, unpack this for me.
It's a lot of work to explain to your mom that you want to leave a cushy job and then you want to go, I don't know, just do some Buddhist retreats. It'll be fun. And you're not young, you know what I mean? And then when you come back, you go back into radio and then you tell your mom, no, I want to leave too. I want to go do something else. And she's like, what is this guy doing? Is he doing anything?
Yes.
So maybe she's watching, so maybe I can explain to her. No, but you know what? Life is worth living, bro. You got to go experience things. You got to go see the world. When you get the opportunity, you got to go do these things. I've always been drawn to this idea of how do I flourish?
Right.
How do humans flourish? What does it mean to flourish? And I don't have the answer, but I'm trying to find it and I'm trying to figure it out with other people. So that for me is the key. It's how do we flourish? What does that look like? And maybe that's flourishing in the media space. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's flourishing in your day-to-day. Whatever that is, I want to try to uncover what that looks like together. Let's work on that together.
What are those biggest lessons you learned from all these, retreats that you've been on?
Yeah. So, that's a difficult one because there's a lot.
Yeah.
But I really love this idea. And I actually heard it the other day from in a Navy SEAL context, which I really liked. There was a question from people who train Navy SEALs and said to them, Navy SEALs probably the most stressful job you can ever have, right? You're being shot at, you're in a room. How do you teach Navy SEALs to not be stressed? And she said something really cool. She says, we teach them to move. Both abstractly as well as physically, move. And there's a saying that I love, and it's that action absorbs anxiety. You've got to be moving forward. You've got to be moving towards something, both physically, because a lot of that stress sits biologically, a lot of that anxiety is biologically, you've got to move, but move towards something. Have a thing. Have whatever that looks like. Whatever, if you are extremely worried about something, move. Start, because the worst thing you could do, like Hanan Bushkin always says, sitting on the fence. Don't sit on the fence.
Stagnating.
Don't stagnate. You've got to move, right? Move towards a thing. And I think that's the thing for me. It's this constant movement towards something, whatever that looks like. Fulfilling a goal, and you kind of have to know where to go if you want to move. So you're gonna have to have that goal, have that vision, but keep on moving, man. Just move. It's gonna help you.
I feel like someone came through you this morning to just tell me to go to gym. I've got to keep moving. Listen, there is a lot that happened in your life, and we've touched on the past, but right now you making big moves. I see the Facebook videos, one, of you just sharing advice, but two, you're also doing amazing things at Boston.
Yeah, so I work academically for the Boston Media House, and we are one of the only media houses in the country that still do a sort of a holistic look at media, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in media, that's really a place. And then where the love of my life now is Mindful Revolution. It's a business that we do corporate tips, tools, and practices on how to flourish from a mental health perspective. So proactively. So we go into corporate spaces and we have these conversations. Wow. And it's an incredible business because for me, it genuinely does change lives. It's so funny. 15 years ago, we would never have these conversations at work, right? That's you have a conversation at church or wherever it is. But now we're having it in the workplace. We're asking ourselves, how do we thrive? And it's not just the hard skills. We have to thrive in the soft skills. We have to figure out how to deal with pressures, how to deal with stresses. You know, South Africans are still some of the most stressed people in the world. We look at that data after data after data says that. We end up last in happiness and are last in resilience. And we do that because this is a really tough place to live. So we've got to have these conversations. And they're mental health conversations, and they are incredible. And I'm really lucky to be in that space and to have these conversations.
Is a lot of the stuff you do share on these courses or these, this curriculum that you share come from your retreats that you've learned?
Yeah, so
we're actually getting a bit of inside info, yeah?
Yeah, so look, lots of it written by psychologists, so CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, positive psychology, but obviously because of my Eastern philosophy and my love of Eastern philosophy, that's going to be brought in a lot. Because I love it, right? And Eastern philosophy for me has always been a really interesting thing. And I think they're onto something, these guys. They've been onto something for a very long time. If you think about the way they see the world and the way they show up in the world, they're onto something. We can learn from them. And so, yeah, it is there.
See, this is the thing about Grant Nash. And I mean, when I say I've known you for many years, I really have known you for many years. And you always seem to find that next. Now you're on this path.
Yeah.
I mean, what else is there?
So who knows?
It's not even a joke. Like,
who knows what we're going to have to
But you also do the most profound things like that almost don't link from the past, but somehow there's that golden thread that comes through.
Sure. And you know what it is? It really is pretty simple. I have found my ability to communicate effectively. And I think that really is the crux of all of it. Is like when I think about young people and I think about talking to young people, if you can communicate your ideas, if you can communicate whatever it is, it's going to be of great benefit to you.
Right.
So one of the skills that I would always encourage people to have, and you would know this because you've seen this in your own life, is the ability to articulate and communicate ideas, spaces, things. And that doesn't mean you have to be a good teacher, but it's the ability to articulate. It's always going to be you in good stead. So that's always going to be the thing, the ability to articulate whatever it is that I'm interested in and where, and then finding a path to be able to do that. But I think it's a skill that many of us, you can learn it. You can learn the skill, and I would encourage people to do that because it's going to stand you in good stead.
I think you've done it so well, and one, so organically, and two, do you find yourself missing radio?
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
I love that because you've made peace with it. You've moved on.
But also, there's something about having the ability to be super authentic.
Yeah.
And no matter how much people tell you that you can be fully authentic in your own podcast or your own whatever it is, there are always voices from outside. So you work for a radio station, there's always going to be a narrative. There's going to be, even on your podcast, you've got a narrative for that podcast. Mac G is not the person we see on the podcast all the time.
No.
Like,
That's for sure.
You know him, you know that they are. So the ability to live that fully authentically, I really dig it. And having the opportunity to do that in this space, I've been given that. So I'm not a big fan of any of those traditional mediums anymore. I don't know what that could look like in the future. Right. And even when I do, I'd have to then be okay with being that version of that thing for that amount of time. That's cool. But I think having the ability to mess around with a few things and be super authentic in that has just brought a lot of peace and a lot of happiness.
I have to ask you, just because the season is upon us and you know about the season, Radio Shake-Up season is here.
Yeah,
it's already, right? Some of it happened. Some stuff are about to be announced and things are changing. What do you think is missing on radio at the moment?
Sure, that's quite a question. You see, you put me on the spot because now these people are my friends. These people
You don't have to mention any names.
No, let me tell you, I'll tell you what I think the key to Grant Anele was, is that we had a very single vision, fun. We said to ourselves, we're going to show up every day and we're going to have so much fun. And I think the only thing that I think we're often missing is the single vision. You want to be everything to everyone. You don't have to be. Do that thing that makes you great. Do that thing. So it's kind of strange for me. I listen in the morning and I hear like a really funny segment, and then all of a sudden I hear we're speaking about the Netflix adolescence, and then we're getting really serious about it. And I get it, but I don't really get it. Because we have become so segmented anyway that for me, I would stick to that thing. I would say, you know what this show does? Is we do fun, bro. We are fun. Or what the show does is we do serious politics, and then we can infuse. Don't get me wrong, there are going to be some days where you infuse some stuff, But for me, it's about that. It's like I very rarely can put on a show today and be like, that's what that thing stands for.
Right.
That's what that thing is. Oh, that's the recipe. You don't go to McDonald's and order a burger and hope and pray that it's going to be like it was last time. It is going to be like it was last time, you know? And I think that's kind of something we miss from that perspective is know what it is, know what it does, tune into it because it does that. And I love that. It doesn't have to be everything to everyone, just has to be that thing. We have to be really good at it. I think we kind of miss that a little bit.
Look, one, I can talk to you for a long time because there's always so much to catch up on. But two, it's a no-brainer that you know radio. I mean, you've worked in it for so many years and you've done it, and I can hear through the way you are very passionate about it, just media in general, and just congratulations on the journey.
Thank you.
And if Mom is watching, he's okay,
It's
Mom.
okay, Mom.
He's okay. Grant, thank you so much for joining us on The Morning Show.
Thank you.
This has been truly incredible, and I don't know, wherever your paths and my paths cross again, I know it'll be incredible. And one day come visit us again, or maybe let's go do something at Boston.
I'd love that.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely love that. And I just want to say to you, like, you're flourishing, you're being here again. This makes me so happy. Makes me so happy to see you in your natural habitat.
Because you've been on the journey from the beginning.
Your natural habitat, bro. This is where you belong. So good to see you again.
Thank you so much. Well, I mean, on that note, Grant. I have so many words, but honestly incredible, just unpacking, one, the journey, but two, just the mind of Mr. Grant over here. And just, I'm excited for your next, and taking a trip down memory lane really brought so many memories back for me as well. Don't go anywhere though. There's still so much more on The Morning Show. We'll be right back. It's only like, 20 past 7? There's a lot more. Stay tuned.